Do you feel unhappy with your life? Or do you feel like you're not truly being yourself, or there is so much potential for happiness and peace? If that's the case, then there is a high chance that you already must be either getting therapy or doing your own personal self work or shadow work, as we call it in the spiritual realm, to bring some changes in your life. Now, as you must be progressing on this journey, you must be experiencing few roadblocks which might be making you feel that, oh, the therapy is not working, or I don't think that there's anything else that I need to change in me, or I don't know how to progress further from here and my triggers are still the same. Let me quickly share in this video with you 3 reasons that could be impacting your inner work, shadow work, therapy not so positively. First, the strong sense of self you hold on to, the identity. This is who I am. I'm a very giving person. I'm such an emotional person. I do have a tendency to react quickly. I get irritated very quickly. Yeah, I can be a little tantrumy. We already know ourselves. We know what we are, but we don't understand why we are like this. So often we would just stop at the knowing bit. I know this. I know this. Yeah, that's how it works with me. I know it. But then why? Why do things work this way with you? Why do you work with yourself this way? So these are all the questions which will get answered if only you leave this strong sense of self. And hear me out. I am all up for being truly who you are and holding on to your true sense of self. But 2 questions. First, is your true self really your authentic self? What I mean by that is, maybe you grew up in a household where you really had to fight a lot for certain things that you desired, which were not wrong, but just that your parents saw things differently, because of which maybe you became a little bit of a rebel, or somebody who just likes to make noise first about what they want because they know that they always have to fight their case. And now you tell yourself, no, I always know what I want and I'm very particular. But is it actually you, or is it more of a borrowed understanding from the situations that happened in your life? Second, how can you be sure that what you are is helping you and not harming you? And of course, I don't mean to take you on a negative trip and make you think that, oh, everything is wrong with you. That's not the case. But the point is that this identity that you're holding on to, is it your real identity? Is this who you truly are and would always want to be? Does this identity come with certain challenges that you have to face many a times, maybe alone in your journey of life? Think of all the times this strong identity maybe affected you negatively. So maybe you're a damn emotional person, or you're somebody who's very giving. Imagine how much money you must have burned because you must have been the first one to be paying bills, or not knowing how to ask people back for money or their share. So when you say that I'm somebody who's always very helpful, just go back to all the times when you might have entertained a person in your life for a very long period who was probably very self-absorbed, very negative, and it maybe started impacting you also negatively. And all this was done in the bubble of either being kind or being loved, or just being this person who's always a little angry or reactive. But whatever it was, hey, that's who I am. I am not saying that what you are is entirely wrong. But what I'm trying to tell you is that many times this identity that we hold on to is actually an identity that got built due to certain conditioning, certain situations, certain trauma. And maybe the real you is a lot different. Scary, right? But imagine if you got to know the real you, then how beautiful the world would be. Because let's be honest, what is a true sense of self? A true sense of self is that you should be able to truly respect yourself. You should be able to love yourself to this extent that you know that what you truly deserve and what maybe you're not capable of handling or signing up for. Because if you have a true sense of self, you will not have to prove anything to anybody. You would only be proving things to yourself. Which means that if saying no to a person or being very candid about the fact that, hey, we should split the bill, would not mean that, oh, the other person is not loving you anymore. You would stop seeking the validation or the approval outside. Instead, you would know who you truly are. Maybe you are somebody who's very objective with finances and you like it to be like that. And you would like to have people around you who understood this and who did not go into the whole conundrum of दोस्तों में तो चलता रहता है. So, this strong sense of self, I want you to take a little bit of time and think today, is it truly who you are? Or a lot of this could be actually borrowed or something that has been conditioned in you? And the moment you recognize this, that is going to be your first step in progressing towards your journey of inner work. Second, your defense and resistances. When your friend or your siblings or your parents who genuinely care for you, when they tell you that, this is probably something a little wrong in you, you might want to change it, what is your first reaction? I'm pretty sure you must be going about justifying that how and why you reacted in that particular manner. And maybe then questioning with the fact that, but why can't I be myself? You must have noticed if somebody asks you to take proper healing or go back to a certain traumatic experience of your past, you must be wanting to shut it off, or you must be wanting to either delve too much in it or completely not delve in it. As hard as it is, you need to learn to be vulnerable with yourself and with people. What's your defense or resistance? Let's discuss it objectively. It is just your difficulty in acceptance. You may know why things panned out the way they did. You may know your trauma, or you may know why you are who you are. But do you truly accept it? Because from acceptance will come the responsibility. Once we know that, okay, this is what made us who we are, you will feel more in charge of your emotions, of your now. But oftentimes we don't want to accept, because with that comes the wrath of consequences and events that follow. To feel understood by other people, we need to understand ourselves, we need to accept ourselves, and we need to accept why we are what we are. Because then from that acceptance would come the next step of maybe wanting a change. Maybe you would revolt against your own self because you're so tired of how your life has been till now. And the last, blaming instead of recognizing your own patterns. It's always damn easy, right? Like, oh, the world is a little wild and vicious. Nobody understands my beautiful side. I do so much for my friends, but they always take me for granted. This whole question of, but why me, is basically you just shrugging off the responsibility. Because it's so easy, because the moment you can blame other people, you don't have to do anything about it, right? It's the fault of others, it's the fault of the situations, the universe, the people, but no, it's not your fault. You are who you are. That's not correct. Always remember, one claps only with two hands. If somebody else was misbehaving, abusing, exploiting, or not being right with you, you allowed it. You entertained it. You enabled it. Now I'll tell you a secret probably why you did that for so long. Yet again, the first point, which is your strong sense of self, which is coming from conditioning perhaps. You were taught that this is how love is. You were taught that the true meaning of friendship is always you stick by them no matter what. And you were never taught the basics of give and take or boundaries, or simply that it's okay to choose yourself. The moment you start understanding that you entertained it, you allowed it, you ignored the red flags, you enabled it, you did it too, that's when maybe you will start asking the question, but why did I? Or how did I? Or when did I? What did I fail to see? What should I have not done? Or what should I have done simply differently? And that is where, instead of blaming others, you look inside. You ask yourself that if I knew the person has not been texting me regularly and they are not as enthusiastic as me, then why did I cling on to them? Or why did I show my enthusiasm? Maybe you would realize because you're conditioned to think that it's all right to chase somebody, because if you truly love somebody, you have to express it. Or maybe you would realize that you enjoyed that feeling of being in love. You were looking forward to that feeling of something new starting up in your life yet again. You were wanting that feeling of butterflies in your stomach. Now, when you know this, you might further question this, that but why do I want it from the wrong person? You might realize that that's what you grew up on. You saw relationships like these around you. You might realize some of it's also the conditioning of the content in Bollywood that we all grew up on. Or you might simply realize that, oh, I don't see anything wrong in this because I come from a very archaic thought that It's okay to chase love. You need to tell love that, hey, I want you. But what if you're doing all this with the wrong person? And why are you doing this with the wrong person? Why are you failing to believe the person who's not texting you regularly? Why are you entertaining somebody who's barely listening to you and responding to you correctly? You might just realize that it's because you desperately seek love in your life. And because of this desperation, you're happy to date or entertain any Tom, Dick, and Harry. But tell me, is it really worth another heartbreak? What we also don't realize is our own patterns. Why we continue to fall into a chain of events that just keeps on repeating in our life. We just simply like to tell the world, oh, you know what, I already knew this would happen with me. Oh, मेरे साथ तो कभी कुछ अच्छा होता ही नहीं है. But then why not simply ask ourselves that why is the same chain of events or reaction constantly reoccurring in my life? Is there something that I need to do differently? The sooner you shift the blame inwards, understand it, take responsibility, the easier it will be to recognize your patterns. I'll end the video with this. I just wanted to share a few thought starters. Now the rest is on you. But what I want you to know is that healing and self-work and inner work, A, is never ending. B is definitely not easy. C is beautiful. And once you have crossed the tunnel, trust me, there is love, light, joy, everything at the end of the tunnel.